Hi, welcome to Faith and Law. You know, this last weekend, I was blessed to be able to guest preach at a Chinese church where just about everyone spoke Mandarin. And after I was done with the sermon, I gave people an opportunity to pray the sinner's prayer and receive Christ. And instead of just one or two hands being raised to receive Christ, more than half of the people there raised their hand to receive Christ. It was awesome what God was doing. Just a little encouragement I wanted to pass on. It's exciting to see what God's doing when we share the gospel. Now, let's take a look at this latest trending viral video.
An issue why you're against abortion and why you're against transgenderism is because you're a misogynist, okay?
First of all, I'm not a misogynist because a misogynist is someone that puts down women. I exalt women to their rightful role. Women are supposed to be women, not men. And every time somebody says that a woman is equal to a man and does what a man could do, and you're actually abusing and denigrating women. Women have a unique purpose and they're special. They're fearfully and wonderfully made by God. I support women. So I'm not a misogynist. I don't put down, you're putting down women by saying women can be men. You're putting down women by saying transgenders can be women. No, they can never be women. Women are special and no man can just convert and say I'm a woman today.
Well, I love that video. Do you know why? Because here was a man in a very straightforward, reasonable way, not screaming or yelling, but he conveyed the truth that God's word makes very clear. God makes them man, God makes them women. And uniquely in their terms of how they function, but yet equal in terms of their value and worth in the eyes of their creator. That's the truth. And when we veer away from truth and we let the world or we let the demonic forces of this world cause us to compromise that truth, there's destruction, there's victims, there's hurt, and there's pain. And we as Christians, with the love of Christ, should never surrender the truth and the love that God gave us. And if we have the love, the truth has to come with it, just like happened in this video. All rights are a gift from God, and they're to be used for God's glory and to further God's kingdom. We're opening the door for government, under the same guise of health and safety, to be able to control our lives, whether it's in terms of our privacy, our information, where we go, even how we live our lives.
I had been told that if I didn't get the vaccine that I would not be able to continue my education.
31 offices across the country handling over 185 cases in active litigation. This just doesn't come out of thin air.
The Supreme Court of the United States ruled in our favor.
This year, police arrested a Christian man exercising his right to free speech.
Hundreds of parents were at the state capitol today and they were protesting new guidelines for sex education in public schools.
The world's way, it's to isolate, silence, and destroy.
So you're really seeking to represent the low-profile, overlooked group of people in our communities, but then you also don't charge a cent. And so I want to know why you do that and how that happens.
We do it because I believe that's what Jesus would want us to do. Now, I'd like to bring on now Dr. Ingrid Skopp, who is the Vice President and Medical Director of Affairs at the Charlotte Lozier Institute. Welcome to the show, Dr. Skopp. You do great work as an OBGYN, saving lives, helping people. Dr. Skopp, you know that there are abortion pills, not birth control pills, but abortion pills out there that are being used and distributed that result in preborn babies being killed by this terrible, terrible pill. Can you share with us the truth about the dangers of this abortion pill, not just to the preborn, but also to the mother?
Thank you, Brad, for having me on to discuss something that a lot of people don't understand. The abortion industry sells these chemical pills to women saying they're safer than Tylenol. This is not the case. Good quality data tells us that approximately 1 out of 20 women will have a failed abortion. She'll need surgery to complete the abortion. Additionally, about 1 out of 20 women will go to an emergency room within the month following the abortion. recently, using the COVID pandemic as an excuse, the FDA removed all of the in-person prescribing requirements. They said they did this so women could get it through telemedicine, but ultimately, women are now able to order these pills online, have them delivered through the mail without any medical supervision at all. There's no ultrasound to document the gestational age, to document that the woman does not have a potentially deadly ectopic pregnancy. There's no labs to document if a woman has a blood type that might require an intervention to prevent future pregnancy complications. And there's no one determining that the person ordering the pills is even a woman who wants an abortion, who knows about the other options. So sex traffickers, incestuous abusers, coercive men can all get these pills, and they can provide unwanted abortions to women. And this is obviously a horrible way to treat women, to allow these pills to be unregulated and unsupervised.
Now, is it true that not all OBGYNs out there are pro-life? And if so, why?
I'm sad to say that it is true that many of my peers, other obstetricians, do not think about the fetus the way I do. He is my second patient. The mother and the fetus are both important to me, and I strive to protect them both. But unfortunately, many obstetricians, perhaps for progressive reasons or political reasons, even sometimes eugenic motivations, we see that they will recommend some women not have children. This is led by our leadership. The American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology recently stated that any abortion at any time in pregnancy for any reason is acceptable. The reality, though, is that 90% of obstetricians do not perform abortions. Women go to places like Planned Parenthood for their abortions, and many times they don't even talk to their doctor about it.
Now, doctor, there's many people out there in the medical profession who believe that, oh, it's just a clump of, I'm going to say medical profession, I'm legitimizing it too much with that. Okay. Now, Dr. Skopp, I understand that there's many people out there who say, oh, it's just a clump of cells, but that's all it is. Why is that not true?
You know, abortion has always been cloaked in euphemisms, because if we really discussed what was really happening, many Americans would no longer be in support of it. And so saying things like it's just a clump of cells or it's not really alive, obviously this is not scientifically verified. We know that from the moment of fertilization, a new human being with a unique genetic makeup, different from his mother, different from his father, exists. Very quickly, he begins to divide and differentiate and become quite complex. 23 days after fertilization, his heart is beating. It is pumping blood cells to oxygenate his body. So, of course, if people realize that, they would care more for the fetus. And so, of course, these euphemisms are promoted so that people don't really understand. And I would also mention that it's not, although abortion advocates like to call themselves pro-choice, they don't really support all of the available choices for women. In most cases, they want the woman to obtain an abortion. And we can see this when we look at abortion pill reversal, which is medically supported using progesterone to help to reverse the effects of mifepristone, the abortion pill, if a woman should change her mind. And yet we see abortion advocates say that this is not supported by science when it is, because they don't want women to change their mind. Additionally, they don't want women to think about other options. About 60% of women who obtain abortions say they would have carried their pregnancy, they would have given birth if they'd had more support. And so we see an effort underway to villainize pregnancy resource centers that are trying to offer support to women to help walk alongside them so that they can give birth to their children.
You know, there's so much propaganda out there trying to convince women to just have an abortion. It's the easy way. Why, in your opinion, is that not true? why, in your opinion, should a mother not have an abortion?
You know, if we encounter someone who has an unintended pregnancy, and they're very common, so all of us will encounter women, we need to realize that they are often consider this to be a crisis. And abortion is often chosen as a knee-jerk response to a crisis. So the very first thing we must do is to let them know we care, to talk with them, to walk alongside them, to let them know that there's someone there who is willing to give them love and support. And of course, there are so many pregnancy resource centers that can also help these women with material support, emotional relationship support, and sometimes even financial support, or helping them to get Medicaid insurance or WIC or other things that they may need. And these centers, there's 3,000 in our country. They have provided services to over 1 million new patients every year, $350 million in services. So there are resources available. So showing a woman in crisis our love, our care, our support, and then helping them to get connected to the resources that can help them to give birth to their child is how we can help.
Well, thank you, Dr. Skopp, and keep up the great work. You know, folks, we need to remember that abortion is not removing some foreign tissue, some cyst or growth or cancer. Abortion is killing a human life. It's killing a person. We need to call it out for what it is. It's murder. It is murder of a preborn child. Second, we need to recognize that abortion is degrading human life. All human life is valuable in the eyes of God. And we live in a world today, folks, that is continually trying to degrade human life. Whether we're talking about, people around the world being killed by tyrants, by terrorists, or we're talking about policies by governments that allow and actually encourage the killing of precious preborn babies. This is what's happening. We as people of faith need to be outspoken with the truth. All human life matters. All human life is created by God, is valuable to God, and if we're followers of the Lord, it needs to be important to us as well. And we need to speak out. The love of Christ must compel us to do nothing less but to speak out when we can to help save the preborn and to help also save the women out there from making a terrible, terrible mistake.
Well, they're in the trenches and they're fighting, and PGI is on the front lines for the battle for freedom and liberty. They've been doing so much to equip pastors across the country and to really fight for the values that have made this country so great. Honored to be supportive of PGI.
We're living in a time when Christians are constantly under assault for their beliefs in the marketplace. And if there's not someone to advocate for them and help them with the legal necessities of defending themselves, they're going to get fired. They have no recourse. Most people don't have the resources to go hire a lawyer. It would deplete everything they own. And most lawyers, quite frankly, across the country don't deal in religious liberty issues.
Well, we're living in some very difficult days in America where basic freedoms and especially religious liberty is under attack. And that's one of the reasons why Pacific Justice Institute is so vitally important to the future of this nation. What a great group of lawyers, first-class, top-rate lawyers who are willing to stand up for freedom and stand up for our American citizens under attack.
Yeah, I mean, they can support, they can follow, they can pray. We need more organizations like PJI, and I could tell you that being in the front lines, there's not enough people that are actually in the trenches doing the difficult but tough work, and that's exactly why this organization is so critical.
One of the most incredible things about Pacific Justice Institute is that they do pro bono work. And what does that mean? Well, it means the rest of us have a responsibility. We've got to stand up and provide financial incentives and financial opportunities for these attorneys to get out there and do the fighting. And that's one of the reasons why we have Pacific Justice Institute attorneys on my national radio show, because we want to let people know, hey, there's a need here. These folks are doing very important work, and they're doing very important, successful work as well. And that's why they need our support.
When a Christian is targeted for his or her beliefs, it affects every believer in America. This idea that, well, it didn't happen to me, well, you're next. And when Pacific Justice Institute takes on a case, it's not just that one individual that they really are representing, because a legal precedent may be established from that will protect 1 million believers who could be in the same position for the exact same issue.
You know, when I was in law school, I would walk past an abortion clinic on my way from my apartment to the law school. And occasionally I would give spontaneous counseling to people who are coming in. And one day there was a young couple. It was maybe teenagers. And they were going into the abortion clinic to kill a preborn baby. I knew it. I saw it on their faces. And I talked to them. And I said, look, I know why you're here. But let me tell you, the people in this abortion clinic, they don't care about you. And they sure don't care about that little baby that's inside you. They just want your money. But let me tell you, there are people here in town that do care about you. There's a crisis pregnancy center here in town that will work through this issue with you, go through all of your options, all your alternatives. But it's your decision. But you know what the right thing to do is. You know what the right thing to do is. And then and then I went and turned to walk away because I did not want to be the issue. And as I turned to walk away, I heard the car doors close and the ignition switch turn on. And I will tell you, that moment, for eternity purposes, was probably more important than those 3 years of law school. That's how valuable life is. And sometimes I kick myself for not doing more on-the-spot counseling there at that pro-life clinic. Don't kick yourself for what you haven't done. Instead, focus on being faithful, moving forward with the truth and love of the gospel and the truth and love that God has for preborn babies and how he values women in these serious times of crises. Now, at the end of the day, I want to put on our promo. Now, we at Pacific Justice Institute are strong in the pro-life movement. We defend pro-life clinics all across the country. We defend people in ministry, pro-life ministry, who are engaging in counseling and on-the-spot prayer for women who are in crises and maybe about to abort their precious child, their precious baby. We're involved in these issues, these pro-life issues, and we work with pro-life ministries all the time. Well, the reason we're able to do that is because of people out there like you who are part of our ministry, who help support our ministry. Something else we do is we provide great resources like the book Reclaim Your School. In that book is a chapter on model policies for school boards to adopt. One of those policies, folks, is a policy that says that a school board will not allow a child to leave campus, including to have an abortion or get birth control pills, without parental consent, except in cases of medical emergency. And even then, the school will notify the parents immediately of that child leaving campus for medical emergency purposes. This is a great policy. It can be implemented even in a lot of blue states like California. It's legal. School boards can adopt these kinds of policies. And I want you to know we're here to help you do just that, help your school board do that. Just download a free copy of this book, Reclaim Your School, and you'll find there's a lot of other information in there to help empower you to have an impact on your public schools and a lot of other policies we recommend as well. Now, at the end of the day, we need to take a look at what God's word has to say about this issue. A lot of people have opinions, but most importantly, we need to ask, what does God say? What's God's opinion about the sanctity of life dealing with this issue? Take a look first at Psalm chapter 139, verse 14. It says, I will praise you, for I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. This is David in the Bible, King David, writing this psalm with the inspiration of God about how valuable his life was, how God made him. He wasn't an accident. It wasn't a bunch of blob of cells that just randomly were formed and randomly formed him. No. God says in his word that David's formation was marvelous, and that David in his soul, in his heart, he knows it well. You know what? Each of us know in our hearts the value of human life. We may disregard it, but after we make that decision, maybe to have an abortion, it hits us in the heart. And I want you to know, God can heal that heart. He can give you forgiveness and restoration if you choose to receive what Jesus Christ did on the cross to bear your sins. He's right there, right now, ready to forgive each and every one of you who are holding on to that guilt. Will you make that decision to receive Christ? Another very important verse is Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. It says, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. So the reason it's bad for us to murder and kill other people, including the preborn, is because God made us. God values all human beings. Let us not forget that as we look at policies that we're advocating, as we're going to the polls to vote for candidates. Some candidates respect human life. Some candidates value what God's word says about human life. Other candidates and politicians, they don't care about human life. They're willing to fund the murder of preborn babies by the mass. Not just one or two, but by the massive numbers, as in a modern-day Holocaust. Don't vote for a modern-day Holocaust. Don't vote for a politician, whether for president or Congress or state legislature. Don't vote for those that don't respect the basic fundamentals of the value and sanctity of all human life. So folks, no matter what the challenges we're facing today, no matter how high the hurdle, always remember to always, always keep the faith.
Religious freedom, medical freedom, free speech, censorship issues. I think people on the right are going to get hammered in 2024, and that's why it's so important that we have representation. And sometimes the ACLU gets it right, but I met somebody at Turning Point USA from the Pacific Justice Institute, Brad Dacus. How are you, sir?
Oh, doing great, David. It was great meeting you at that wonderful event. And I don't know about you, but I left it all the more encouraged to see all those young people excited about our country, our freedom, our liberties, and willing to do something about it. And of course, we at PJI, we've pledged to defend every single one of those students, every single one of those Turning Point USA chapters all across America without charge.
It was definitely encouraging to see so many like-minded younger people, but a lot of older generations showed up as well to support the young people and are concerned about our country. And it's, you're going to be in high demand in 2024. Tell us about what the Pacific Justice Institute does.
Yeah, we will be in high demand.
I might be calling you.
Yes. Well, you know, we defend religious freedom for everyone, parents' rights across the country against, you know, wacky school districts or zealous social workers to take kids wrongfully. We defend the sanctity of human life, so the preborn or even people who are in the hospital who are told that are, you know, their loved ones are told, you know, pull the plug, and the person's not dead and they're still there. So we have a lot of interesting cases that in the past I just never would have dreamed we would reach this point in our society on all three of those levels, dealing with religious freedom, parents' rights, and sanctity of life. What makes it sort of unique is that, you know, of course, we do our work without charge. Every single one of our cases without charge. But we don't cherry pick our cases, so we don't just go for the, the high profile cases, just a few cases here and there. Our goal is to make sure that everyone gets help, that no church, no family, no business, owner, is left on the side of the road. We go to bat for them, and all without charge. And we have the largest network, the largest number of offices. We have 29 states. We have 36 offices coast to coast, doing all the work without charge, making sure that no one's left on the side of the road. So we're very, very busy, and our cases are increasing dramatically. We have, I think, over 255 cases in active litigation right now alone.
Wow, and you have a very high success rate. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we do. We really do. And part of that is, I know, it's God's grace and favor, but a lot of it's also hard work, and not doing C-grade work, but doing A-grade work when it comes to doing our research on our cases, on our clients, preparing the complaints, the briefing, et cetera, the strategy. All our attorneys work together. So all combined, our case victory rate is better than 9 out of 10. So more than 90% of our cases we prevail in for our clients, and we do it completely without charge. It's pretty incredible, but we do our homework. We do excellent work for our clients, and it takes a lot of work to get that kind of high success rate.
Yeah, there was a couple on the ground that I met. I gave them your phone number. Hopefully they contacted your offices. The woman didn't want to vax. Now it's 3 years later. She needs a double lung transplant, and quick. And in Phoenix, and all the hospitals have turned her down. So is that someone like that? Is that someone that you can help?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we're, I think, leading the charge across the country in those kinds of cases. Where out of our Detroit office, the person who heads that up, Dr. David Peters, is not only an attorney, but he's also a doctor and has great expertise. And we've already seen the success. We've saved 2 individuals from a hospital, I think it was called Trinity Hospital, where they were told that, you have to get the vax or you die. Basically, they were being put on medical death row. Wow. It was outrageous. And we stepped in, we prevailed. Then we had to sue University of Michigan Medical Center. We prevailed there as well for 2 individuals critically in need of organ transplants. So we're really stepping up. We're taking these cases on all across the country. It's literally a matter of life and death.